Thanks, friends, for the 3,000 likes and 400 comments in the videos, and I hope this video reaches the same number. And thanks to everyone who supported the channel financially, I really appreciate it. The Archbishop asked again, "How is it?" Ryu replied, "I am satisfied. As a reward, I shall send you back to the gods," he said. "Really?" Ryu nodded at the Archbishop, who was delighted, then moved his hand, and he twisted the Archbishop's head. The neck broke, killing him, and Ryu said, "I bear no ill will." Whether he was a real person from another world or a created NPC, Ryu had to kill him to prevent his own demise. After that, Ryu left the dead Archbishop sitting in the carriage and stepped outside. The captain asked, "Did you finish talking?" At the captain of the guard's question, Ryu closed the door of the carriage and said, "Yes." The Archbishop said he needs to think, so we shouldn't disturb him. He inquired, "The Archbishop said that?" But the captain of the guard accepted the answer without suspicion and turned away. After obtaining what Ryu wanted, the 26th wave began. Ryu occasionally looked back at the Archbishop's carriage while fighting off monsters. Io hit was to make sure no one entered it, and he said to himself, "I must not let anyone discover that I've killed the Archbishop until the 30th wave." Ryu's goal was to assassinate all the other worlders in the carriages, and since there was one NPC per carriage, he had to kill a total of 50 people, and, including the captain of the guard and the Archbishop, that makes 52. And since Ryu had already killed the Archbishop, he needed to kill the rest as quickly and efficiently as possible. Then he said to himself, "I'll move when the last 30th wave begins." As he waited, the 30th wave started, and one player said, "It's a Minotaur, block it." Another said, "These tough bastards, they never get tired. 10 minutes left, just a bit more." The players encouraged each other, squeezing out their last bit of strength, and from the original 1,202, their numbers had dropped to around 1,000 due to the difficulty level. It wasn't surprising to have deaths. While they fought desperately, Ryu assassinated the NPCs. He moved silently from carriage to carriage, taking the lives of the NPCs without a sound. Thanks to his stealthy movements and the players being too occupied with the monster fight, no one noticed. So far, only the captain remains. Then Ryu approached him stealthily from behind and twisted his neck, and with that, all the other worlders were dead. At that moment, system messages appeared. The Holy Empire's reputation towards the last-time regressor has dropped from neutral to hostile. The temple's reputation turned hostile. But on the flip side, there was also good news. You have killed all the human guild's other worlders. You have completed the quest to hinder the guild from reaching its destination. Upon tallying the results, quest success rewards will be given. Stat decrease debuffs will be removed. You will return to the waiting area shortly. Ryu completed the traitor quest as he had wished. Then, what about the other regular group players? Turning his gaze, they were still locked in a bloody battle with the Minotaurs, and he said to himself, "Just as I expected." The quest for the regular group was to escort the guild to its destination. That is, if the carriages are still moving when all the allotted time has been used up, it's a success. Conversely, the traitor group's quest was to hinder the guild from reaching its destination, meaning that the carriage must not be at the destination when the time is up for them to succeed. And Ryu added, "But there's another condition for success for the traitor group. That is when all the otherworldly beings are killed, like now. And if all the otherworldly beings in the caravan are killed, the system judges that the carriage can no longer move and determines the traitor group has succeeded." And the success message that popped up a little while ago was proof of that. And if you ask, did the regular group fail? Not yet. Since there were still a little over 5 minutes left, the system didn't consider it a failure. That means there's still a chance. And if they can just get the carriage to the destination, the regular group can also succeed in the quest. In other words, even if there are no NPCs, just getting the carriage to the destination fulfills the success condition. Then Ryu smiled and said, "For that to work, there's a very simple method." And he created a clone and placed it in the leading carriage. And he made the carriage move towards the destination. Ryu added, "If the leading carriage moves, the other carriages will follow even if they're empty." Having experimented in the past rounds, there was no doubt in his mind. It was a cunning use of a bug in the system. And with this way, both Ryu and the regular group survive. A moment later, a message appeared. "You will be moved to the waiting place." With that message, Ryu's figure disappeared, and he blinked once and arrived in the gray space where the traitors had gathered. After that, Angel Ariel appeared and said, "Oh, the Black Scythe? Seeing you here means you've succeeded in the quest, right?" Then the corners of Angel Ariel's mouth turned up unpleasantly, and she said, "So you've chosen to save yourself by sacrificing the lives of 1,201 people. Well, there's nothing more important than one's own life. It's a natural choice." It seemed the angel was clueless about the situation in the other world, and she added, "Don't feel guilty. It was a quest where one side had to die anyway, and it's more fun when the minority wins over the majority, right? You've provided enough entertainment." But suddenly, Ariel's expression twisted as she stopped mid-sentence, and she said, "What? Is this an error?" Ryu asked. "What's the matter?" The angel replied, "I've just been informed that the regular human group succeeded in the quest. Something must have gone wrong. We need to check what happened." After saying this, Ariel stared into space as if looking at a system message and remained silent for a while. Then the angel broke the silence after a few minutes had passed and said, "This is unbelievable. Black Scythe, what have you done?" Ryu inquired. "What do you mean?" she replied. "The recorded footage shows your clone moving the carriage, even though all the otherworldly beings were dead. Because of that, the guild arrived at the destination, and the regular group succeeded in the quest." Ryu smiled and said, "Is that so? That's fortunate." She asked, "Fortunate? Are you saying you intentionally used your clone to make the carriage reach its destination? To save the regular group?" Ryu replied, "Yes. Isn't it better for us all to survive together? It would be more fun that way too." Ariel was at a loss for words, and she said to herself, "He managed to keep both groups alive? Is that even possible?" Even she, the guide, hadn't known such a method existed, and understanding and exploiting the system's conditions for success and failure like this would otherwise be impossible. Then Ryu inquired, "There won't be a problem, right? Since the system declared it a success." She replied, "Yes, there won't be a problem." Although Ariel was dumbfounded, she had no choice but to acknowledge it. And Black Scythe had made both groups' quests succeed. She added, "The quest is successful. I'll send you back to your original place." No sooner had she finished speaking than Ryu was returned to the original colorless space. Looking around, many players were blinking their eyes, waiting for the results. Among them were Jo Young-ho's party and An Sang-cheol. Min Juri and Seo Arin, Heo Tai-seok, and Aom Jun-seok were also visible. Ryu smiled and said to himself, everyone survived. In fact, only a very few had died, but the thousands he had seen at the start were all gathered in one place. And if Ryu hadn't exploited the system's bugs, half of them would have disappeared by now. Then Ryu said, "But the disappearance due to contribution is something I can't stop." Soon, Angel Ariel appeared in front of the crowd and said, "The escort quest has ended. Surprisingly, not many humans died, thanks to someone." Then Ariel's gaze briefly but pointedly turned towards Ryu and said, "For your information, since there are traitors left, there are no completers of the subquest. Shall we see the results now?" After that, the system message appeared. Round 8 results. Tally, all areas first place. Black Scythe, level 80 Reaper. Contribution 281,283 points second place. Chrissy, LV 40 Priest. Contribution 86,331 points third place. Democracy, ELV 38 Buffer. Contribution 82,113 points. Area C 2 ESK A003 first place. Black Scythe, level 80 Reaper. Contribution 281,283 points second place. Democracy, LV 38 Buffer. Contribution 82,113 points third place. Jo Young-ho, LV 39 Mercenary King. Contribution 74,213 points. Once again, Black Scythe took an overwhelming lead in contribution, and unlike other players, he alone swept through 3 guilds, collecting monsters, so it was naturally high. Players clicked their tongues in amazement and said, once again securing first place. But more than anything, the overwhelming level 80 stunned the players into silence. And one player said, "Insane. How did he reach level 80 already? I haven't even hit level 40 yet." Another said, "Wow, I worked like a dog for 5 hours and still can't catch up to Black Scythe. I really want to know his leveling secret. Envy, jealousy, and awe were mixed in the gazes directed at Ryu. Regardless, Ryu focused solely on the reward that appeared before him. It was the reward for completing the traitor quest, obscured by a question mark.